Provocation selling. It works great, especially in downturns. Downturns where people don't have money to spend and they really don't want to just continue purchasing in the ways they purchased in the past. And what provocation selling is bringing that concept up to them that there is a bigger challenge that they should be addressing. One of the ones that I can recall was a company had its own fleet. It was a chemical hauling fleet. So they were making a fortune hauling their own chemicals, saving a ton of money. Everybody was all excited about the fact they were doing that. Came in and said, what if one of those tanker trucks turns over on a highway or hits a school bus? What's the liability of that? Is there a way for you to take away the liability of your customer? Is there a way for you to minimize your own personal liability? That resonated with the upper management in the organization. And when it resonates with the upper management in the organization, the purchasing mentality changes. They said the issue is big enough, the problem is big enough, we can redeploy assets. It gives you a means for getting above the normal purchasing mentality and getting into an area that's more value added for them and for you. But first you got to build the awareness. You got to help people see what's critically important to them that they have not thought about. And then you've got to make sure that you have a solution to work with them. Disruptive innovation is not the hardest thing in the world to do, or sustaining innovation. It's first and foremost understanding who the right customer is to work with. A sustaining innovation is simply stated that I take my very best customer, who I'm making money from, they're satisfied with the way we've been supporting them, and I'm now able to help them take their business to another level. I'm adding, I'm featuring, I'm providing additional benefits to them that they're willing to pay for that allow them to sell their offering at a higher price and increase their profitability. It's not rocket science. It requires ongoing product development. You have to keep thinking of new ideas that matter to your customer, but it's worth pursuing with the customers that you're already embedded with. And then the fourth one up there that we talked about was talking about disruptive innovation. And there's two kind of people that fall into disruptive innovation categories. First one up there is the overserved customer. And the overserved customer is someone that is buying something that has way more features than they're ever going to possibly use. My favorite example has always been the laptop computer, right? I lug a 7-pound laptop computer through airports all over the world, and I use 10% of the capacity and functionality of that computer. And no matter how often I told Dell I didn't want that product, Dell said, you don't get it. It's easier for us to put all this stuff in one box, and if you ever need it, it will be there for you. But then you had a company like Sony came out with the Vaio, 1.2 pounds. You can toss it in a briefcase. You don't need to carry the computer case. You can toss it in the bin at the airport. It does everything you'd ever need it to do, has a 20 gig hard drive, runs PowerPoint presentations, lets me surf the web, lets me get email. It does everything I want to do. And you know what? I bought it without ever asking a price. Disruptive innovation is understanding exactly what the customer is willing to pay for and providing exactly that offering. The attractive part about that when you do it is that very few competitors will chase you because you're in effect defeaturing an offering, not adding features to an offering. Incumbent players, those who are currently in a marketplace, like to move upstream. They like to go to the value-added side. They don't like moving backwards. There's a great market to be had by coming in at the low end and getting the low-hanging fruit. There's a great place to come in where there's not a lot of competition attacking you, but going right where you need to be to build volume. Do you sell it at the highest price? Probably not, but you structure your costs so that you actually make money. The second user up there is the new market. It's a new market of non-users. One that comes to mind for me was a company that was making hinges for the automotive industry. And those hinges no longer were what the automotive industry wanted. They were too heavy duty. So they said, well, who else could use a hinge like the one we make? And they came up with an answer, the casket industry. And they're booming in the casket industry. No one else is selling them. Now that's a pretty good industry to be in if you think about it. You know, it is fairly recession-proof. Actually, business goes up in a recession with all the hedge fund managers jumping off the buildings, right? So, I mean, the casket market is up. And so what they found is another use for a product, that was in a different organization that didn't need all the things that the automotive industry needed. They had a good enough model. And that's what this is. It's a good enough offering. Disruptive innovation means I understand what you want to buy, I listen to you carefully, and I provide exactly that. I don't try to give you more. I don't try to sell you more. I make sure that I'm structured so I can make money in what I sell you. And then I sit back and realize that more often than not, the competition is not going to spend a whole lot of time chasing me. They'd rather be upstream, not downstream. And then last but not least up there, when you get into disruptive innovation, all of a sudden now you own the marketplace and you begin moving up the path and you tend to kick the higher end players out of the market. You begin to sustain the innovation. You begin to own the marketplace. This is something I think companies should have been doing forever, especially if you're entering a new marketplace, if you're trying to deal with people who are not used to what you're buying. Get in there where you can make yourself a stance, where you can take a stance, where you can get some separation, where you can own a niche. So 4 kinds: solution selling, provocation selling, sustaining innovation, and disruptive innovation. I don't know which one is right for you, but I think you ought to not be limited by saying the way we're going to go forward is the way we got to here. I think these are other ways of looking at how do I go to market, how do I serve customers, how do I meet needs of people that I think I could align with. Okay? And I think the other thing is then to talk about you. What's your role in all of this as the leader? First and foremost, be decisive and move quickly. Quit studying it. You've heard me talk before about Dakota tribal wisdom, right? If the horses died, dismount, get another horse, move on. Don't continue to analyze the dead horse. Do not acquire a team of dead horses and put them together. Move forward. Get a better horse, move it, get going. Be absolutely accountable for everything. President Obama get up and say, hey, it's my fault. I'm taking the blame. You don't often hear a president say that. But he said, I'm taking the blame. Whether he is or is not, it's worth doing. It helps your people understand it. It helps your customers understand it. Be accountable. Share the picture. Be a unifier within your organization. You're the catalyst. You're the key people to make sure your organization works. Pull people together. Make them feel they're going to be part of something worthwhile. And then last but not least, grow. This is not a time for you to sit back and rest on your laurels. This is a time for you to keep developing yourself. What skill sets have gotten me into this mess that need to be improved? What skills do I need to improve? Where could I go next in my own enterprise? How do I handle the upturn in a better fashion? Invest in yourselves and make sure you get that done.